welcome to Centre Court. We are back in the studio thanks to Victoria Police. Apply now and TAC, ditch the distractions. Ash Brazill, more netball's been happening, but finally the girls are getting a little bit of a break in between.
Yeah, I know it's a week break now from game to game, and I think for me that's exciting because now I think the level of standard of the netball is going to get higher. The girls get a full week off, and you know, if I was out there playing now, I would definitely appreciate that week off going into a game.
Tell me about it. I want to focus on you just to start off the show today because we know behind the scenes you have been recovering from your ACL reconstruction. That takes a huge amount of rehab. But you've also been putting together something quite special on the side as you go through it. So everyone, take a look at this.
Brazill good.
Brazill laid down the tackle.
When does she come from?
Brazill will do 6 votes.
Play tonight and then play for the Australian Diamonds on Sunday.
Collingwood player down.
It's Ash Brazill. This does not look good at all.
One of our country's best athletes, really. She's one of our country's best athletes.
Again, she would have been the keenest to be here playing, but did a knee on Friday. It looks like did a knee on Friday, ruled out of this game. So thinking of you, Ash.
Braz, tell us about this. Why did you want to put something together to showcase what you've been through?
Oh, well, you know me, V, and I love the camera. That's probably why I'm on this show. But I actually prefer being behind the camera, and it's something I think...
You're a very creative person behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it's something I like doing away from the sport, just to clear my mind. But doing my ACL, I just thought, you know, what better way to actually document what I'm going through. And the first thing I did when I did my ACL, I Googled and YouTubed so much, like who's done the ACL, what's their story, how did they do it, what's their journey. And every single one was after they had come back.
Yeah.
And nothing was like through going through the surgery, anything like this. So me doing an ACL for the first time, I had no idea what to expect. So out came the camera. And I guess for me, I wanted to feature that, you know, sport is so glamorous. Every kid wants to be an athlete. And everyone just sees the gold medal standing at the top, winning all the games. It's always the highlights, but it's never what I guess a lot of the athletes go through. And I'm someone I feel like I've had more downs than I have highs, but they do just make the highs even better. But I just wanted to, I guess, show people out there and kids wanting to be athletes that there are lows and, you know, you do have to fight these battles.
Now, one thing that does feature, and you saw that just in the preview, was #BloodyFootball. And we saw all these tweets flying around on the screen. Why bloody football? Because I thought you loved footy.
Oh, I love footy. I love footy a lot. But for me, it was, you know, once doing an I was so overwhelmed with how much support I got, amazing messages, and they made you feel really good. And I guess this is being an athlete as well. You can have a million messages that stand out, make you feel so good, and you have one that just sticks with you. And Liz's wasn't bad at all, but for me, she's someone I've looked up to and I still look up to. I love Liz Ellis, and there's no hiding behind that. But to see her message, and I guess when I did pose the question, you know, can I play footy and I play netball, everyone on the netball side was like, you're going to get injured, you're going to ruin your career. And, you know, B, you helped me through that stage. And so when I did my knee and I saw Liz's message, I just felt sick about it because I was like, I've just proven everyone right, and that's the last thing I wanted to do. And I'm not angry that I did my knee at footy because I believe in fate. I think I was always going to do my knee. I could have done it on the netball court, on the footy field.
On your skateboard.
On my skateboard, having a surf. You know, I could walk across the road and get hit by a bus. You know, there's injuries happen in all different ways, but if I could take it back, I would 100% prefer to do it on the netball court just so I didn't have that and no one questioned footy. And I did it so well last year. It was just unfortunate that I did do my knee. And I guess that's another thing that it shows through this documentary, and there's a few different series, so it's like, episodes, and it just shows, you know, I think when people do their ACL, they don't do it through COVID. They don't do it while they've got a 6-week at home. They don't do it when their team are up in Brisbane and you've lost your whole support crew. So it is, I wanted it to be, you know, for a little kid how to go through an ACL, but it's completely flipped and it's very different. And I hope no one has to do their ACL the way I've done it because it has been difficult, but at the same time, it makes for a pretty good little documentary.
Oh, I can't wait to see more of it. But where can people watch it?
So I'm going to be putting it up on YouTube and I'm going to be putting it on Instagram, IGTV.
So keep an eye on your socials.
Keep an eye out. Yeah, I'm going to put the first episode will drop on Friday. So fingers crossed that people like it. Exciting times. And this one we just talks about the injury and how it happened.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, not great that you did it, but it's great that you are using your creative talents that we've all known you've had behind the scenes, and it's great that you've been able to put this all together. It's now time to talk netball. It's time to get to the agenda. When you are on your phone, you are driving blind. Ditch the distractions, thanks to TAC. We need to start off by talking about Janie Fowler, West Coast Fowler, West Coast Fever, whatever, however we want to talk about it. But she is in unbelievable form. And the last game that we saw her take the court, she shot 70 goals. So get this, 68 out of 71 1-goal shots, and then she got 1 out of 1 super shots. 70 goals is an all-time record. I remember when Romelda Aitken started in the league, and I had to play against her, and we were trying to keep her under 50 goals. That was, and you know, if you got her under 40, you were like, oh, I've had an amazing game. Yeah. But to have a goal shooter be so strong, such a weapon down there, shooting 70 goals, I don't know how we stop her.
I don't know how you stop her either, because it's hard enough having 2 mid-courts feeding her, but then your goal attack also turns into a wing attack. So you've got 3 mid-court at the front feeding her, and she's just a powerhouse. It doesn't matter where you feed the ball, she's just able to rip it in with 1 hand, 2 hands and sink that shot. And you know, last year, Rob, my coach, being a stats man, we knew that we had to get 28 intercepts to win a game and keep where to score. I think it was like 65, 66 to win. That's no longer the case. Like, goodbye stats. I hate stats, so I'm glad that Janelle's proving this wrong. But 70 shots a game, like you said, how do you stop them? I don't know. How do you stop her? Like, we talk about it every single episode on this show, and I feel like she's just going to keep going and going and going.
She's certainly coming into her own now in the league, and we did see her break the record against the Swifts. We need to talk about that. What is happening with the Swifts? Because they have lost, I think, their last 4 games. Lost to Fever by 9, lost to Vixens by 7, lost to Firebirds by 13. You know, they're still sitting in the top 4, but they are really struggling at the moment to pull it all together. Yeah,
and it's a tough one with the Swifts because I still think they're playing good netball. It's just little lapses here and there that really make them lose that game. And you can't even have a minute off in this game at the moment. You need to have a full 60 minutes to win the game. And I think the Swifts are just having those little lapses at the wrong time.
Yeah, and we're seeing that a lot of turnovers too, which is very uncharacteristic of the Swifts. We didn't see that a lot from them last year. They were a real team the way they were playing, but there is just a lot of lost balls, and it's really hard to make up for that, isn't it?
Yeah, and going back on the stats, like if we had to get 28 positive turnovers to win the game and give our shooters enough, I guess, chances to score goals. With the Swifts, for us, when we played them our last time last year, we made that drop to 19. If we could get 19 positive turnovers off them, we would win the game. So that just shows you if you can just get a little bit off them, you can actually win the game because they don't make the errors. So very interesting that they're doing that this year.
And then this week, I think the game to watch is going to be Fever taking on the Giants, Thunderbirds taking on the Swifts, because depending on how that all plays out, it could mean that round 14 is a big, there's going to be a huge clash to see who actually can end up in that top 4. Yeah. I love that it's still open. I think that's exciting. We know Vixens have scored that minor premiership, which for them, I think they'd be happy about, but I think they've got it before and they haven't been able to take it through the finals, their form. So I think that will be making them just very nervous at the moment that, yes, they've got the minor premiership, but what happens from now on in?
What do you think they do, though? Do they just run a 7, thinking, okay, what's the team going to be like in this final series, or are we going to see players rested? What do you think?
For Vixens?
Yeah.
Well, I think obviously Lizzie Watson, I think they've still got to be very careful with her and when they bring her back in. But I think you've got to keep going with the momentum that you have. You don't want to rest players because now they actually get a week off between games anyway, so they're going to be recovering. I think you want to keep giving everyone court time, making sure everyone's ready to go. But yeah, you don't want to obviously overdo it either.
Yeah, wrong time to rest now. We should have seen that in the earlier stages.
Absolutely, and I think the Vixens they've been able to cover play as well, haven't they? They've been able to still win, even though it's not always pretty at times, but they've still been able to get the win, and that's why it's really important, and that's why Fever are doing so well too.
And back to Vixens though, like the players that they bring on that we don't know, like we're learning their names as they're walking on the court. They're unbelievable athletes as well. Like, it's a shame that they don't have, I guess, there's not enough positions on the court for them because there's been a few players that I'm like, they could actually step up and you wouldn't even know it's their first time on court.
Which is why, as we've spoken about before on this show, why it's so important that I think teams stay as 12 and not go back to 10 players, because we are able, with this rolling subs, be able to unearth new talent and give them opportunities out there. Even if it's just 5 minutes a game, that is so crucial to your development when you are a young player.
Definitely.
I want you to show you this, Ash, because Deakin University have been... I know you said you hated stats, but they love stats. And look at this. So this is basically suggesting to us the players that are most important to each club. And it goes on 15-minute blocks. So we're saying Romelda Aitken, she's one of the most important, as is Tipper Dwan actually on her stats right now. When she is out there for the Firebirds, she is very important. What stands out to you, or what do you disagree with in terms of players that are standing out as the most important at their club?
You know, I would love to know more about this stat and how it came to be. I understand it in one way, and other ways I have so many more questions, just because I'm looking at Fever with Jess answers. Jess is a great player, and great that she is up there for her team, but how can you not have Janie Fowler up there?
As the most important player.
And it shouldn't be +4 or +13, it should be +70. Really, it's... Yeah, I want to know and I want to understand how that ladder has come to be. It's very interesting.
And I think you and I, that's probably one of our little weaknesses, is that analysing the stats to the nth degree is not our strong point, and that was courtesy of Deakin University's Centre of Sport Research. So we promise you we will try and get whoever is putting all of that together on the show one week, because I think it would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, stats play a huge role. You know, your coach, Rob Wright, loves stats, and a lot of coaches do, because they do play such an important role. So we will have more information on that one for you on another episode of Centre Court. That was the agenda. Ditch the distractions, thanks to TAC. It's now time to move to the nitty gritty. Thanks to Lexus of Berwick, who are here for you. Contact the team and visit lexusofberwick.com.au. Okay, we have to talk about something that was quite serious that I've never ever heard happen in our sport before. And Verity Charles played her game over the weekend, and she was out in Queensland on South Bank, where a lot of the girls are hanging out at the moment. And I cannot even believe this happened, but she said that there were 4 women, one who had a Firebirds fan top on, and one of them spat at her. It is appalling, it is disgusting. I cannot believe this has happened. It is not okay to anyone, let alone, to Verity and to an athlete out there. But I want to congratulate Catherine Clark, Netball Queensland and West Coast Fever in how they've handled this. Listen to her strong words. Let me be absolutely clear. This behaviour would not be tolerated by our club. Those involved should be ashamed of themselves. The person wearing a Firebird shirt should hand it back. You clearly do not share our values. You are not welcome at our club. And that's from Netball Queensland CEO Catherine Clark. So I want to congratulate both the clubs, but our sport in netball, in that they've actually come out and taken such a strong stance. And I mean, you know Verity well, you've played with her for a long time. Verity has said she wants an investigation to happen. She does not want it to play out in the public domain, because she wants to concentrate on her netball right now. I think that's a really smart move as well. Yeah. What do you think of this situation? I mean, surely, and how do you think Verity is going to be handling it?
Oh, Vez is a strong character, strong human, and I think she just probably would have been shocked. And I'm shocked. Who does that, for starters? We're in a pandemic where COVID spreads so easy and you're spitting on someone. That's disgusting. And the words that they use to her as well is you just don't say that to any human, let alone an athlete that you're going to watch and support. But yeah, I think Vez will just park this. She's an awesome athlete, and I think the way that Fever are going, she's just going to be happy to keep getting those wins. So I think that's where her biggest focus is at the moment. Yeah,
well, good work to netball, because I love that we have come out and we have been strong, and we just say we do not accept anything like that. That was the nitty gritty, thanks to Lexus of Berwick, who are here for you right now. On to a more positive note, I'm going to hand it over to you, Ash, because Brazilian is your thing and you always come up with some gems for us.
Oh, thank you, Bianca. Well, this week's, it's just, for me, again, great human behaviour. It happens every week, and I love that we're celebrating it. But this hit the heartstring for me. Catherine Cox put on Twitter when she decided to go back home to be with her little girl Harper, and she filmed, I'm not sure who filmed it, but it was on her Twitter. This right here.
So we know Catherine Cox has been away in Queensland for well over 6 weeks. And initially when she agreed to go up there to do the commentary, she thought she would be able to come home to see her daughter Harper, who is in Sydney, and the border's shut. So she was then had to make the hard decision to stay up in Queensland, continue doing her job, and then when she knew that she was okay to come home. But that's a long time. She thought she was going to be away for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And to have to, I mean, I don't have a child, but like you would imagine
I don't know
how hard that would have been.
Yeah, I don't know how she did it. And I think just looking at that, looking at the emotion on Coxie's face, like her crying, just embracing Harper. Then you go back to her social media and you look at how much fun she had. And I'm looking at her going, oh, she's having the best time of her life, a holiday. But that's just what you see on social media.
Yes.
It would have been so hard being away from Harper. And yeah, good work, Coxie, for doing that. But it's not just her up there as a parent. Like, and this goes to a shout out to all parents in the hubs at the moment. I know Liz Ellis is up there away from her kids. And this is just from my team, knowing we have Lauren, our manager, away from her 5-year-old who just turned 5 the other week, so happy birthday, Miller. Our assistant coach has 3 kids. Our physio has 2. We know West Coast Fever have their manager and video analysis away from their kids, and I'm sure there's so many more. And even grandparents, like Julie Fitzgerald away from her grandchildren, like that's hard enough. So well done to all being away from their children and grandchildren. I know it'd be so tough, but the fact that you're keeping our sport going, thank you for being up there.
Oh, all the sacrifices are just incredible right now, just to get our sport up and running for 2020 in this crazy year. What a year. It's now time to get to the final say. Victoria Police are recruiting now. Search police careers and apply to be a force for good. Braz, I'm going to go to you again. I'm just going to let you have all the limelight.
Should just call it
what
the
have you
Brazill
got?
Show. For me, I'm going to talk about my Magpies girls. I feel like they're playing really good netball for 3 quarters, but we're not doing it for the 4th quarter. So for me, I just think we need to win. We need to win before this season's over. There's 2 games left. And if we have, I guess, we need that strong, fun spirit going into next year. Like, we can't make finals now. So if we could get that win, I think it's going to have the players on court just feel, I guess, a little bit lifted going into next year.
Now, I know I'm not allowed to ask any questions in this segment, but I'm going to.
Oh, here it is.
What is it? What is it, do you think, that is causing the Magpies to not be able to play out that full game and get the win so far?
Well, I've heard my team and coaches just say, like, it's experience, and you know, we're rebuilding, we've lost a few players,
and knowing how to win in that last, you know, when the pressure is on the most.
And like, I think for me that's the biggest thing, because I hate the excuse that we're a young team, we're this, we're that, because we're seeing now young players, like we've said it before in this show, come on and just dominate. So it's not that, it's it is experience, but it's that knowing to win. We haven't had it yet. We saw, I guess, my team have it in the last couple of games last year, but we haven't consistently done it for a full season, and I think that's something we really need to evaluate going into 2021.
Absolutely. And for me, my final say, it's round 13, and you're going to see all of the teams bring out their indigenous dresses, and they look very cool. Like, I love that there's so much that goes into the dresses, not just what they look like, but the actual story behind the designs. And if you look on social media, all of those stories are being released this week. I want to say well done to netball for what they're doing, but I think we need to do so much more for Indigenous round. We're seeing other sports do, every year they just increase what they do to showcase just how important it is that we have an understanding. But also, we have one Indigenous netballer at the moment, Gemma Mai playing for the Queensland Firebirds. We know we've had some incredible Indigenous players in the past. We need to make sure, as Beryl Friday said to Sue Gordian in her interview, we need to make sure that there is a pathway for our Indigenous athletes, and that we create opportunities for them, that we allow them to be able to play our sport, and that we just understand where they're coming from too. And I just think it's a really great thing that we're doing Indigenous round, but I hope this is just the beginning of some amazing things that we do with our sport to celebrate our Indigenous history.
Oh, definitely. And like, you look at the AFL, all the Indigenous players are just unbelievable athletes. So if we can get a program up and running, like you said, I think it will change the game of netball, and it's just going to be way more exciting than we've ever seen it.
That was the final say. Thanks to Victoria Police. Apply now. Well, that is our show. Round 13 is here. We know that there's 2 games to go before finals. Teams really do have to step up, and they really have to make sure that they cement their positions in the finals for the teams still fighting. So thanks for joining us, Ash, again.
Thank you for having me, Bianca.
I look forward to seeing more of your little documentary released every single week. And that was Centre Court. Thanks to TAC. When you are on your phone, you are driving blind, ditch the distractions. And Victoria Police, who are recruiting now. Search police careers and apply to be a force for good.